Hello, this is Patty Pashon and welcome to Rappler Talk. Today we're speaking with Labor Undersecretary Bernard Olalia, who is also the OIC of the POEA. We will be talking about opportunities for OFWs and some updates on labor-related matters. So sir, thank you very much for accommodating us for this interview.
It's my pleasure.
I know you're very busy, so we'll just go straight to the point, sir.
Okay.
Sir, balikan lang po natin yung opportunities for OFWs because during our press conference nung nakaraan, nabanggit po natin yung parang bagong opportunities po in Japan and in China. Can we just talk about it para ma-refresh po sa ating audience?
Presently, we have this government-to-government framework with respect to deployment of our Filipino overseas workers in the Japan government. No? We have this framework called JPEPA, or the Philippine-Japanese Economic Partnership Agreement. Under this framework, Filipino caregivers and nurses are deployed to Japan, no? After they pass their licensure and nursing examination. But this framework is very much restrictive. So, apart from this government-to-government framework, meron po tayong bagong framework na naipasa lang po last November 2016 sa Japan. So, they amended their recruitment laws at it will be effective this November of 2017. Under this new framework, meron silang tinatawag na Technical Internship Training Program. Dito po sa Technical Internship Training Program, i-allow po nila ang recruitment ng ating mga kababayan for assistant caregivers and skilled, semi-skilled, and low-skilled workers.
Bakit po may parang preference na ngayon on semi-skilled workers or bakit i-expand na po ng Japan yung preference nila for the types of workers they are going to accept in their country?
Yeah. Na-realize ng Japanese government na kinakailangan nila ng mga maraming health workers sa kanilang bansa dahil sa lumalaking aging population ng Japan. No? And from 2009 to present, if I'm not mistaken, nakapagpadala lang tayo ng 1,909 care workers, nurses and caregivers both. No? So 1,900 out of the many applicants po na nagpunta doon. And out of 1,909 care workers, 282 lang ang nakapasa doon sa kanilang very restrictive examination sa language proficiency at doon sa nursing licensure nila. At because of this, na-realize nila, they came up with a new framework, itong TITP nga, yung training technical program, so that pwede silang mag-deploy, mag-invite ng Filipino assistant care workers to work in Japan.
Sir, you mentioned na bumabagsak. Sa new framework ba, parang mas lenient ba yung magiging screening procedure para mas makapasa or mawawala na ba nung sa language? Kasi I understand, syempre yun yung pinakamahirap na part ng exam.
Tama ka doon. Dito kasi sa present JPEPA framework, may 6 months training dito sa Philippines yung ating mga aplikante. After hurdling yung 6 months training, they will still have to undergo another 6 months training sa Japan. No? Under this new framework, yung TITTP natin, wala nang training dito. Diretso na sila sa Japan. And then, medyo mababa na yung antas noong examination level para na sa ganon, makapasa sila.
So, sir, when they apply, syempre, I understand through recruitment agencies pa rin po yun, yung application for the jobs in Japan.
Okay. Under the present framework, government to government, excluded ang private recruitment agencies. But under the new framework, yung TITP na bago nilang ipapatupad, kasama na dito yung private recruitment agencies. So, all licensed private recruitment agencies in the Philippines will have to participate.
Okay. So, ulitin ko lang, sir. So, pag natanggap na sila, nahanapan na sila ng work, wala nang training
sa Philippines, wala nang training. They can immediately be, hindi deployed. They will have to undergo yung internship program sa Japan. No? While undergoing yung internship program, they are allowed to look for jobs. Okay? And pag nakakuha na sila ng trabaho nila, meron ng commensurate salary yon. So, while while undergoing internship, meron na silang trabahong available.
Sir, gaano kahaba po yung inaay na duration ng internship program?
Shorter, much shorter than the present framework. Kasi ngayon, 6 to 12 months, di ba? Baka doon, kasi binabalangkas pa lang namin yung framework eh. We're still under the negotiation with the Japanese representatives. Pag na-execute na namin yung Memorandum of Cooperation come October or November 2017, malalaman na natin yung exact mga requirements. For example, kailangan malaman din natin yung mga skills na kinakailangan nila to qualify as assistant caregiver. Malalaman din natin kung ano yung mga kailangan na examinations na i-hurdle nila, which I believe would be less restrictive.
But you also mentioned, sir, na although caregiver and medical workers yung kailangan ng Japan, you also mentioned before na hindi lang naman sila, there also market for other employment. Yes.
Actually, meron tayong total na running total, I think, na 15,000 more Filipino overseas in Japan. Itong 15,000 ito, kung hindi ako nagkakamali, number 1 dito yung mga performing artists natin. May mga kababayan tayong performing artists sa Japan. Meron din tayong mga OFWs working sa manufacturing sector. Meron din tayo sa construction industry. So ito yung mga sectors na kung saan nakadeploy ang ating mga kababayan.
But under the TITP, it's mostly about for care worker, medical practitioners, sir?
Assistant care workers or assistant caregivers and yung skilled and semi-skilled workers. Ipapasok natin dito.
Okay, I see, sir. Okay, sir. You mentioned din the last time na hindi po open for household service workers yung mga walang opportunities na gano'n in Japan?
Presently meron tayo. We deploy domestic workers sa Japan, no? Kaya lang medyo limited. May mga areas lang sila. Meron kaming memorandum of understanding sa limited areas only. Hindi tulad sa Middle East na talagang all out yung deployment natin ng house workers.
Okay, sir. How about naman sa China, sir? Can we discuss anong klaseng opportunities ang mga available sa OFWs? Kasi before napabalita na, ayun nga, Japan and China, collectively there are 100,000 jobs there.
Yes. Presently, makikita po natin yung mga available job orders sa China. Ito po yung mga skilled, semi-skilled, mga professionals po, at mga health workers din. No? Unfortunately, wala pa tayo mga domestic workers na dinideploy sa China. But there are some interested parties na gusto nilang mag-inquire tungkol sa deployment natin ng domestic workers, but wala pang konkreto.
Okay. Sir, speaking of that, meron tayo sa Japan, meron tayo sa China. Are there any, kasi the last time na we talked or sa press conference, you mentioned about emerging markets. Aside from these two, are there any parang boom or malalaking pangangailangan sa trabaho in any other countries?
Yes, we're opening our markets to our ASEAN countries. Kasama yon sa pinag-uusapan ngayon sa ASEAN, ano? And including also yung sa, of course, yung Middle East market natin, and then yung American market natin, and of course, yung European market natin. Binabalangkas natin yung ating mga government-to-government agreements, yung mga bilateral and multilateral agreements natin, for example, with Germany, with other countries, para na sa ganun, we will be able to deploy more Filipino overseas workers in these countries.
But those are not necessarily household service workers, sir?
No, of course. Karamihan po dyan yung mga professionals na siguro hindi mo may kakaila. May mga direct hires tayo nag-a-apply na mga professionals at semi-skilled sa iba't ibang parte ng bansa. No? So ito na ngayon ata yung nakikita kong parang ang dami nating mga kababayan na nag-a-apply as direct hires.
Speaking of that direct hire, sir, medyo, hindi naman siya controversial, but you can say na maraming OFWs ang nagwi-wish na sana ganun na lang yung eskema natin.
Correct.
Can we explain, sir, paano po ba ngayon yung, policy natin on direct hiring?
Under the labor migration policy ng ating gobyerno, no, we are very protective of our OFWs, yung mga overseas Filipino workers natin. Hanggat maaari, tutulungan natin sila, no, na makakuha ng trabaho. Pero sa pagtulong natin, kaakibat nito yung talagang social and welfare protection natin. Hindi natin hinahayaan ang ating mga kababayan na basta-basta may de-deploy sa ibang bansa na hindi sure o assured yung kanilang protection. At magagawa lang natin ang full protection sa kanila if they go through a licensed private recruitment agency. Why? Unang-una po, sinisigurado natin na itong mga recruitment agencies na ito ay duly licensed. Dumaan sila sa proseso. No? May mga requirements tayo, very restrictive requirements natin for a recruitment agency to be able to authorize to deploy workers. Kapag po na-deploy natin ang OFWs natin through a licensed recruitment agency, may mga proseso din tayo pag nagka-problema yung mga kababayan natin. We can contact yung mga licensed recruitment or PRAs natin. And they will be able to get in touch with the worker abroad. And then gagawan nila ng paraan yan upang matugunan yung mga concerns o suliranin na hinaharap ng ating mga kababayan sa abroad. Pero dito kasi sa direct hire, walang involved na PRAs or private recruitment agencies. Pag wala tayong PRAs, sino ang kukontakin natin kung sakalit may problema yung ating kababayan na directly hired? At paano natin malalaman na may problema yung kababayan natin na directly hired? Kasi walang magi-inform sa atin. So yung employer na nag-directly hire ng ating kababayan, baka doon tinanggal na yung ating kababayan at kukuha ulit ng panibagong Filipino in exchange for that previous employee. So magiging vicious cycle yan. Aabusuhin yung ating mga kababayan without the POEA knowing kung anong nangyayari na sa kanila doon. So that is the case that we are avoiding.
Okay. Sir, but you mentioned kanina na parang yun nga, may mga professionals na nag-a-apply for direct hire. Paano ngayon maglalaro or how can I say, paano mag-e-evolve yung policy natin on direct hiring when we're tapping emerging markets like for example in Europe, in Germany, yung mga nasabi po natin kanina?
Papag-aralan natin if we will be able to deploy them through a government-to-government framework. Magkakaroon tayo ng either bilateral or multilateral agreement with these countries who are mostly yung mga employers na nanggagaling dyan, yung mga may gustong mag-directly hire ng ating mga OFWs. No? So with these bilateral agreements, doon natin babalangkasin kung paano natin mapapanigurado yung usapin ng safety at full protection ng ating mga workers.
So workers would first have to go through government agencies before they can apply to the employers. Ganun po yung scheme, sir?
Yes, ang general rule diyan, the Filipino workers intending to work abroad should go through a private licensed recruitment agency. So itong PRA na ito ang pwede lang mag-deploy sa kanila abroad.
Mm-hmm. So sir, we're not really eyeing or seeing a prospect na mawawala talaga yung direct hire, yung ban on direct hiring.
Yeah, wala tayong ban sa direct hiring. Ang meron lang tayo is because this is the exception to the general rule, we restrict the enforcement of this provision on direct hire. No, hangga't maaari, lahat ng kanilang kontrata will be scrutinized carefully. And it is the office of the secretary who approves yung mga direct hires applicant natin. Siya lang kasi ang may karapatan ng magbigay ng grant o yung permiso for them to be able to deploy. Yung tinatawag na Overseas Employment Certificate will be personally signed by the secretary himself, no, in the exercise of his discretionary power to allow deployment of our Filipino overseas workers.
Sir, but yun, si Sec Bello, parang in many press conferences, in many interviews, he has manifested na medyo parang hindi sumasakit ang ulo, pero naaawa din siya kapag may mga nakikiusap sa kanya. Totoo na yun. Pagbigyan nga yung direct hire. Totoo so yun. Parang, sir, I read na there's this parang resolution by the POEA board na tatanggalan si Sec Bello ng powers to exempt OFWs para maging direct hire po sila.
Not exactly. Meron kaming amendment na pinropose which was taken up during the last governing board meeting ng POEA. Under that proposed amendment doon sa POEA 2016 rules and regulations natin for deployment ng OFWs natin, tinitignan natin kung pwedeng bigyan ng power yung POEA, no? Parang bibigyan niya kami ng power to allow yung deployment ng mga professionals using the direct hire provision of the labor code. Pero hindi ito pinayagan kasi nag-object yung other members ng governing board, no? At ang napagkasunduan doon is we will seek the advice of the tripartite councils na involved, no, in order to take up this issue on the amendment to the provisions on direct hire.
Okay, sir. So sir, since we're still parang really banked on hindi man ban, but really banked on the prohibition on direct hiring, how is POEA ensuring na fair yung recruitment? Kasi syempre, there's distrust among recruitment agencies. So, parang OFWs really see na they would prefer direct hiring rather than go through recruitment agencies. But how is POEA overseeing this para hindi sila, yun, as what they say, illegally recruited?
The mandate of the POEA is for the full protection of our OFWs. So, with this mandate, we have to make sure that our OFWs being deployed abroad are given full protection. And we can only grant full protection to them if the deployment of our kababayan will go through a private recruitment agency. So yun po yung ating pinapatupad ngayon. Exception lang po yung mga direct hire. At this exception ay binibigay lang natin dahil sa exercise ng discretionary power ng ating mahal na sekretarya.
But are there mechanisms that are in place, sir, para hindi, for abusive recruitment agencies?
Oh, of course. Sa mga agency hired natin, ang dami nating measures diyan, ang dami nating mechanisms diyan for the full protection of our OFW. Tulad ng binanggit ko kanina, we ensure na yung mga licensed lang na recruitment agencies ang makakapag-deploy, no? Meron tayo maigting ang ating activities against anti-illegal recruitment, anti-trafficking, no? Hindi natin pinapayagan yung mga ganitong mga illegal activities. Kaya once we find out na yung mga entities are engaged in this illegal recruitment, ay may kaakibat agad na criminal cases na nasasampahan agad natin.
Sir, Rappler's Ana Santos recently published an article. It's about zero placement fees because also there's this whole discussion na yun nga yung pinaka-problema kasi ng mga OFWs natin yung parang hefty placement fees, sir. Are we seeing a possibility or eyeing a policy na parang hindi na kailangan ng mga OFWs na magbayad ng placement fee sa mga recruitment agencies? Or are we parang forging an agreement with recruitment agencies regarding this matter?
Okay. Under our present structure, no, doon sa ating 2016 POEA rules and regulations, we allow the charging of placement fees equivalent to 1 month's salary under the following circumstances. Pag yung recruitment is through a private recruitment agency, no? Exception, we do not allow the charging of placement fee pagka government to government, no? Yung deployment. Number 2, when we deploy domestic service workers o yung mga domestic DH natin, walang binabayaran na placement fee yan. And number 3, when the national law noong ating receiving labor country prohibits the exaction or the payment of placement fee. So yun yung mga instances na walang placement fee na inaalaw. Although inaalaw natin in place of placement fee yung processing fee, no? Siguro dahil meron tayong ILO rule, yung sa convention natin, na yung ina-advise tayo na there should be no placement fee for the deployment of workers abroad, no? Baka way forward natin, we have to mainstream yung policy natin sa POEA in accordance with the policy of the ILO.
Mm-hmm. Mainstreaming, is it legislation, sir, or department order, or?
We can do it, I think, by legislation dapat, no? And then i-implement natin through a department order. Kasi meron tayong rule nga, tulad na nasabi ko kanina, that allowing the payment of and charging of a placement fee equivalent to 1 month salary.
Okay, sir. Sir, let's just discuss one point. Medyo off tangent siya, but sure.
There's
Gulf News released an article that there's an agreement between the Philippine government and the United Arab Emirates, a memorandum of understanding.
Okay.
Actually, it has no details, so I'd like to ask you, would you have any knowledge on the details of
If
that?
my memory serves me right,
Just this Tuesday or just this September, sir?
ito ba yung law which is in favor of our OFWs?
Yes, parang ganun po.
Yeah, meron ata silang ipinasang batas, no, pabor sa OFWs natin, also in line with the international labor standards, no? Kasi siyempre ang ILO natin Meron tayong mga international labor standards yan na dapat sundin ng bawat bansa. So, UAE probably pass a law in order that their domestic or national laws will also be in line with international labor standards.
Okay, so yun yung parang memorandum of understanding. So there's more parang ink to the law or parang mas
Yes,
may
for the
commitment.
protection also of our OFWs.
Sir. Sir, ito naman, there are comments po dun sa bagong POEA memo na kasi parang may memo yung POEA na yung foreign placement agencies, they can be accredited with four or more recruitment agencies.
Local recruitment agencies.
So are we seeing po ba na parang mas maraming OFWs ang ma-hire abroad with this policy? But what's the rationale in this policy, sir?
Oh, yes. Medyo niluwagan natin yung accreditation ng ating mga private recruitment agencies in favor sa mga foreign recruitment agencies. This is to allow them to be able to deploy more OFWs, no, in other countries. This is upon the request also of the FPA or the foreign recruitment agencies and our private Philippine recruitment agencies. We give them more leeway para sa ganon makapag-deploy sila. Pero may mga mechanisms tayo dyan in place, no, para hindi maabuso yung proseso. They can only seek for additional accreditation if they comply with certain conditions. Like for example, yung second accreditation nila, kinakailangan makumpleto muna nila ata yung 100 or 200 deployment. Kapag hindi nila nakuha yung exact number na yon, they will not be allowed a second accreditation. In other words, we allow that new process but under certain conditions.
Sure, but there's criticism lang. I'd just like to ask your opinion about this. There's criticism kasi na, isn't it contrary to DOLE's policy na dapat there's a reduction in the number of OFWs we deploy? Parang, is it contradicting the parang directive or direction na dapat kaunti yung OFWs?
Well, hindi natin binabago yung policy ng government, no? That we parang ina-allow natin yung export of our labor, no? In-expand natin yung deployment ng ating Filipinos. We do not change the policy of the government with the adoption of this new mechanism.
So we just want to accommodate more...
Well, it's just more of a procedure. Okay. Procedure for deployment ito. Para mapadali natin yung mga deployment natin, para hindi siya restrictive at para hindi makapili tayo ng mga foreign recruitment agencies or sa kanila naman makahanap sila ng private Philippine recruitment agencies na makakapag-meet ng kanilang demand for deployment.
Okay, sir. Medyo matatapos na tayo sa usapin ng OFW, but last point, kasi yung pinaka-iintay na OFW ID, can we just get updates kung kamusta na po ba yung parang usapan sa implementing or sa guidelines po nung sa OFW ID?
Oo. Ito yung tungkol sa IDOLE system natin, wherein one of the integral component of this IDOLE system is the OFW ID card, no? We just had our stakeholders meeting with other members of the civil society, NGOs, mga workers organization and employers organization. We were able to get their inputs and suggestions on how we should go about the implementation and the framework that we have to adopt with respect to this OFW ID. And we intend to seriously consider yung mga suggestions nila before we come out with or roll out this OFW ID. In the meantime, binabalangkas po natin yung guidelines for the implementation of the OFW ID so that lahat po ng mga sinabi po ng mga suggestions at inputs ng ating mga stakeholders will be seriously considered.
Sir, was that the meeting last August? Or,
yes.
Okay.
Yes
so,
po.
not in September pa? Are we expecting guidelines or hindi pa po?
Hopefully, by the end or last week of September, we will be issuing the guidelines. Isa kasi sa medyo mainit na usapin dyan yung cost ng OFW ID and who bears the cost, no? Kasi sabi nga, tulad nga na sabi natin sa mahal na sekretary at ni Presidente, no cost ito sa ating OFW. So ngayon, tinitingnan natin kung sino yung dapat na magbayad kung hindi ito i-charge sa ating mga OFWs.
So sir, wala pang sobrang clear kung sino yung magbabayad?
May mga choices na tayo. It's either the employers, yung mga foreign employers, or yung mga, or yung OWA, or yung private recruitment agency. Pero siyempre, nagre-resist yung ating mga kaibigan sa recruitment agency dahil hanggat maaari, ayaw din nila siyempre magbayad ng addition dito nga sa OFW ID.
But you also mentioned before that there are partnership, kumbaga parang advertisement style, so that
Yes.
no one should have to bear the cost.
Tama yun. Na-i-suggest kasi during the stakeholders meeting yung possibility na pwede nating i-open yung system sa mga commercial entities. Yung mga businesses who are interested to market or to advertise their companies through this system. Pero ayaw kasi natin na masyadong ma-commercialize yung ating project or program. So siguro in the next phases, no, pagkatapos ng first phase, titignan natin kung maipapasok natin yung mga involvement ng commercial entities para maibaba o maging libre talaga yung price ng ating OFW ID.
Sir, I'm just gonna raise a point, parang mentioned to me by some people na parang kailangan pa ba ng OFW ID when the Congress passed a law on a national ID system?
Okay.
I mean, what do you think about it?
Well, the national ID system has its own separate and distinct purpose. And yung OFW naman natin, ID, has a very also special purpose. No? Magkaiba yung kanilang framework, magkaiba yung kanilang sistema, magkaiba yung kanilang intention. Yung OFW ID natin is parang virtual ID na kung maaari, ma-access ng ating OFWs yung iba't ibang ahensya ng gobyerno at makakapag-transact sila through this internet, no? Para sa ganon, mabawasan yung mga steps or yung bureaucratic steps and procedures for the processing ng kanilang papers.
So sir, moving forward na po tayo, labas sa OFW affairs. Sir, you also hold the PRC or the Professional Regulatory Commission?
No, PRC is under my cluster
Okay.
as the Undersecretary for Regional Operations and Human Capital Development. You must, must be aware that I'm not holding several hats. No, apart from being the OIC of POEA, I also hold a hat for the Undersecretary for Regional Operations and Human Capital Development, where PRC is under my cluster.
Did you receive updates po ba regarding the review of the CPD? Kasi di ba nagka-Senate hearing po kasi
Yes,
nga nahihirapan yung mga trabahador complying with the requirements of the CPD. Parang any
yung
updates?
ating CPD o yung tinatawag nating Continuing Professional
Development program. Opo. Are there updates on how are they reviewing it?
Well, PRC is trying to implement the law. Meron na kasi tayong batas na ipinasa dito eh. Last year, hindi nila na-implement yung provisions ng CPD. But this year, unti-unti, ine-enforce na nila. Under this CPD law, kinakailangan kasing within a certain period of time, yung ating mga professionals would have to undergo seminars or trainings or some sort of mechanism in order for them to renew their licenses. No? So, mandatory kasi ito under the new law. So, binabalangkas ng PRC kung paano nila mamimitigate yung mga effects nito sa ating mga kababayan, lalo na yung mga OFWs natin na nagtatrabaho sa ibang bansa. Kasi mahihirapan silang mag-renew at mag-undergo ng seminars or trainings while working abroad. So, kasalukuyan po nilang pinag-aaralan at tinitignan po nila yung mga
Is there a need to amend the legislation, sir, or it's up to the implementing scheme of the PRC?
I don't think the amendment of the CPD would be advisable. I think it's in the implementation aspect that should be titignan nila yung kung paano babalangkasin yung implementation para nang sa ganoon ma-achieve natin yung gusto ng batas at ma-implement naman natin na hindi mahihirapan ang ating mga professionals.
Okay, sir. Last point na lang, sir. I think this is somehow related to contractualization kasi when last March dun sa launch po or parang signing ng DO 174, Secretary Bello assigned you and Labor Undersecretary Joel Maglungsod to review the enforcement framework of labor standards. Parang may nangyari po ba dun sa review? What are we
No, hindi natin ni-review yung framework. In-assign kami ni Secretary to head yung audit team. ng ating LLCOs, no? O yung Labor Law Compliance Officers natin. Kasi yung tagumpay po, yung success ng enforcement and implementation ng DO 174 with respect to the security of tenure ng ating mga workers would be dependent on the performance of our LLCO. Kapag po hindi pinaigting ng LLCO yung kanilang inspection ng mga establishments, hindi po natin, we will not be able to successfully implement yung DO 174. Maliban po kasi doon sa trabaho po ng LLCO, no, sa inspection. Marami pong issues dito na kinakailangan din namin harapin. Tulad po ng kinakailangan namin ng complement manpower ng aming LLCO. Kulang na kulang po ang aming LLCO because there are only 574 LLCO nationwide in the whole country, no, to inspect 900,000 plus business establishments. So, impossible po na ma-inspect nila lahat ito. Kaya, we requested for additional complements sa Congress po, and they favorably acted naman. Kaya lang kulang pa. And apart from this, nagkaroon din kami ng new department order regarding the deputization of representatives coming from labor, management, professional groups, in order to assist our regular LLCO in the inspection process.
Speaking of that pala, sir, na-settle na ba if they will be given allowances or parang pro bono po yung work ng mga LLCOs na deputize?
Yes. Alam mo, pag na-deputize ka ng LLCO, it's an additional responsibility. Wala pa tayong budget. Therefore, wala man lang allowance. So, it's a pro bono. So, kinakailangan mo nang magtiyaga muna sila at magtiis na wala silang matatanggap na allowance from the department with respect to this additional job.
Well, I think that would be all, sir. Thank you very much for accommodating our interview. We've been speaking with Labor Undersecretary Bernard Olalia. So thank you very much for joining us today, and we'll see you in the next Rappler Talk.